Imagine your child going limp in your arms as you hold them, or walking into the room while they're playing or sleeping and noticing that their lips have turned blue and they can't make any sounds or cry. As parents and caregivers, we need to know how to react quickly and confidently in emergency situations, and learning infant CPR is a great step in being able to handle a number of life-threatening situations. I'm Nathan Cohen, and today we're talking about infant CPR. This is Parent Savers, episode 104.
Faster than a speeding toddler.
Sit still for just a minute.
Can soothe boo-boos with a gentle kiss.
Would you get down from there?
Able to clean poopy bottoms in a single swipe.
Oh, what did you eat?
Turning frazzled mommies and daddies into procreators of peace and harmony.
Ah, quit touching me.
It's Parent Savers, empowering new parents everywhere.
Welcome once again, everybody, to Parent Savers, broadcasting from the Birth Education Center of San Diego. Parent Savers is your weekly online, on-the-go support group for parents from the newborn years through kindergarten. I'm your host, John O'Reilly. Thanks again to all of our loyal listeners who join us week in and week out. And thanks also to those of you who are listening for the first time. As you may know, you can join our Parent Savers Club and receive access to special bonus content after each new show, plus special giveaways and discounts from time to time. And if you haven't already, please make sure to download the free Parent Savers app. You can get it for your Android phone or your iDevice, your Apple device. It's on iTunes. It's free, and you'll automatically get the latest podcast sent to you as soon as it's available. It's magic. It's awesome. It's Parent Savers.
New tagline.
That's
Insert
right.
here.
We should get that URL real
Delivered
quick.
by unicorn.
Exactly. Nice. All right. So let's start this conversation about infant CPR. There's a bunch of us in the room, so you guys know who you're listening to and who's laughing along or not laughing along with this kind of serious topic. So my name's John O'Reilly. I'm 40 years old, and I have 3 boys, a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and they certainly know how to get themselves in situations where we need to react quickly and know what to do.
I'm Stacy Spenceley. I am 31 years old. I'm a certified holistic health coach, and I have one son who is 13 and a half months old.
How many days?
It's like, where's the flip? You know, he's almost 14 months. He's not. He's 13 and a half. He's
People
right
are critical about it, but I actually totally agree. I think months is fine, especially even through
He's in a wonder week. It does matter.
What is a wonder week?
It's a period of development where basically my life sucks. Because he doesn't sleep. All he wants to do is stay awake and point at everything and go, bah.
I have not heard that term, but that's hilarious. And I'm sorry he's in a wonder week.
It's an app. You guys should review it.
You should totally check it out.
It's good.
We will check it out on a later show. Anyway, I support 13 and a half months. That's great.
You'll like mine then. I'm Kalina Carruthers. I work at a call center, and I have one son who is almost 11 months. We're right there.
That's
On
right.
the 11th, he'll be 11 months.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, I'm Sunny. I am producing today's show. I'm also the owner of New Mommy Media, which produces Parent Savers, the Boob Group, Preggy Pals, and Twin Talks. I am 36 years old, and I have 4 children. My oldest is 3.5-ish. Ish. And then almost 2. I have a son that's almost 2, and then I have identical twin girls who are about 5 months old now.
Yeah.
Oh, and I wanted to promote our Parent Savers, our VP program.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so if you guys are listening along and you're not right here in the studio with us, but you want to participate in our conversations, a great way to do that is to be part of our Parent Savers virtual panelist program. So you can follow us on Facebook and on Twitter as well. If you're on Twitter, follow hashtag Parent Savers VP, and we'll be posting questions and comments as we're recording today. We also post some stuff in advance before we start recording, and your comment may make it on the show. So it's a great way to participate if you're not here in San Diego.
Great. And then Nathan is in the room as well.
Sure. My name is Nathan Cohen. I'm 39 years old. I'm a first aid and CPR instructor at CPR Advantage, and we are trying to start a family right now, actually.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Not exactly right now, yeah.
But Adam is also in the room, Kalina's
he
son,
is.
so you may hear him from time to time. And
Yeah.
that's not Nathan trying to start a family.
No.
All right, before we jump into today's topic of infant CPR, we're going to do a news headline. And this is where we take an article or something that we've maybe read online or seen somewhere, and we talk about it because we think it's of interest to parents. And this one is something that got me all sorts of fired up. I saw it about a month ago. A friend posted it on Facebook. And this is actually from Parents Magazine, from the April issue of Parents Magazine. And it's called 10 Things You Should Never Say to Your Kids. And it says, these everyday phrases actually do more harm than good. And so I'm just going to go through these phrases first, and then we
Yeah.
can talk about them. But the phrases are, great job, practice makes perfect, you're okay, hurry up, I'm on a diet, we can't afford that, don't talk to strangers, be careful, no dessert unless you finish your dinner, and let me help. And I think this is taking some of the I know that we and a lot of our listeners and us and as parents, we really try to like read a lot and do a lot of the best. But I think some of these just really rub me the wrong way. The idea that like great job, that it's not okay, that you really shouldn't give your kids praise. You should do it very limited and only when it's truly warranted, is what they're saying. But the idea that somehow giving praise is going to damage the kid, I'm not sure that I agree with that. And I don't know, what are you guys' reaction to some of those phrases?
I'm not. I read the article when it came out, and I posted it to my Facebook page, and we had an interesting conversation with some other moms. And basically, I think some people took, which I agree, is it's like your SAT test when it says never, like it's a red flag. So it's not that you should never say those phrases, but I think when like I have a 13-month-old, so 13-and-a-half-month-old, and so he's starting to do this. So we have like the little shape toy, so you can stick the circle through and the triangle through, and so we have him clap and stuff and celebrate that he did it. But if every time you say good job, it's like it's not like he cured cancer. He put a circle through a circle, and so we do say it, but we try to keep it kind of limited. So we're encouraging him, but also helping him to celebrate his accomplishment, not saying, you've done something that makes you worthy of love, is what the article says.
Is that something you did before you read this article, or that the article?
I've read other articles that are similar. Alfie Kohn is a well-known author who has a really great article. If you Google it, you can find it. That's really when he was younger, I read that article, and it was like, oh, that makes more sense,
right?
Like how he phrases it, and so we try not to do it.
Like you said, it's a healthy debate, and some of these I think like totally make sense, right? Like you don't need to tell your kids we can't afford that. Maybe for example,
or I'm on a diet.
Or I'm
Who
on a
says
diet.
that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad I don't have a girl. As a health coach, I work with people whose parents said that, and they are still screwed up from it when they're 30.
Yeah. So I'm not dismissing this whole list, but I think that for me, the general feel of some of this is taking it just a little bit too far. And I feel like generally speaking in parenting, the pendulum is kind of swinging, is that we're all now examining ourselves, or like, oh my gosh, are we doing like too much, and trying to relax a bit and let kids play more and be themselves, and don't say be careful and let them explore. But I think this is starting to take it a little too far.
Well, I'm curious. You said be careful. Why is that bad?
It's too general. It doesn't. Be careful of what?
Right. Saying it while your child is
okay.
like balancing on the monkey bars, it actually makes it more likely that they'll fall, because then they're kind of examining themselves, and of course they're being, careful, like but they're also kind of
Sometimes
exploring.
they're not, though. Sometimes they're not.
So that's the thing. I don't remember what that article said, but my takeaway from it is like, so like if they're not supposed to walk on the grass, they're supposed to walk on the sidewalk. If you say don't walk on the grass, all they hear is walk on the grass. Or if you say stay on the sidewalk, that's the positive version.
Okay.
No, but this is actually different. This is saying like if you don't say be careful, if you are worried they're going to fall, just go close to them so you can be there if they do. But don't say the word.
Because it's
careful.
better for them to learn through experience, kind of thing. Like if you fall off, then
This says actually that you're just distracting them and they're going to lose focus.
Can you offer like a corrective suggestion, like slow down, or know, because maybe they're excited, they're caught up in the moment, and that's why they're not being careful. So
it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in this sense, I think be careful is like the Noonan from Caddyshack, where it's just a distracting phrase, not necessarily the thought to be careful.
Interesting.
But yeah, I could go on about this actually for a long time, but I'm not going to. We're going to move on to the topic of infant CPR. But
check out the article.
It's a really interesting article.
Yeah.
We'll link to it on the site, and if we haven't posted on Facebook yet, we definitely will. Today's topic for Parent Savers is infant CPR. We're talking with Nathan Cohen, an instructor from CPR Advantage. Thanks for joining us, Nathan.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, and thank you, Parent Savers, for giving me this opportunity.
What do we mean when we mean infant CPR? I mean, because when I picture CPR, hi, Adam.
Adam's answering.
That's
the
right.
question.
When I imagine CPR, what pops to my head is like pushing up and down on somebody's chest.
Yeah, it can be really useful for someone who's hard to stop, but it's also useful for a poisoning or choking situation as well.
So CPR is more than just...
It's more, I mean, at its most fundamental level, it's simply pushing down on the chest hard and fast to create blood flow to all the vital organs.
Okay.
So that you can wake up or resuscitate the infant.
What's different about infant CPR than regular CPR?
Well, let's start with one basic premise, and that is if you don't do anything at all, there's only one outcome, right? So anything you're going to try to do to help the situation is only going to help. And also, we don't have a lot of 7-month-olds and 7-year-olds out there having heart attacks.
Right.
The most likely cause is, again, something related to poisoning, choking, something a lot less benign. So in the case of like an infant that's maybe gotten accidentally poisoned or a child that's choked on something, a lot of times when you find them, they have the same appearance as somebody whose heart is stopped and they're not breathing. But the reason why CPR is so important is a lot of times in children, there's still a heartbeat there. You might not be able to feel it, but it's still going. It's just starting to wind down slower and slower. So that means if you find a child or an infant that's not responding, not breathing, and you start CPR right away, regardless of what the reason for that need is, that's going to get all the blood revving back through the body, back to those important organs, the brain, heart, kidney, lungs, get all that blood flow going, and that's going to give you the best chance of waking them up right on the spot. No paramedics, no firefighters necessary. So even for us as professionals, when we find a situation where we need to do infant or child CPR, even with all the advanced equipment we have, all the medicines we carry on the ambulance, our first step is always going to be basic first aid. Start with 2 minutes of CPR. If it gets everything going and fixes a problem and the child wakes up, fantastic. If it doesn't, go call 911, then come back and continue.
Okay.
But always do CPR first when you're alone with a child or an infant that needs it. The phone call can come after.
And really the big indicator that they need it is they're not responsive. Like they're unconscious basically, right?
Yeah, they're unconscious, they're not waking up for you, and they're just kind of loose, limp, no sounds, no obvious breathing, just no obvious signs
Their
of
eyes
life.
may be open or closed.
Open or closed, but there's no coughing, twisting, movement. It's just they're just kind of laying there.
Okay. And so in an infant CPR class then is teaching the techniques on how to do it with, so Adam here is 11 weeks and 3 days and 2 hours. Or
11 weeks.
Or 11 months.
Like it wasn't that recent.
That's right. Exactly. But so then there's
Do all that
special
again.
techniques for that age kid or maybe for like a 5-month-old too.
There is.
Right?
We teach different techniques for infants, less than 1 year of age, and it's a different technique for older children and then for adults as well. The big thing is that nowadays the mannequins that are used in CPR classes are way different than what they were using in the 80s or 90s. They're not just foam mannequins anymore. They're much more modern, they're much more realistic, and a lot of the newer ones, at least the ones we use at CPR Advantage, they have a feedback mechanism. So it'll tell you when you're going deep enough. It'll tell you when you're going fast enough. And the resistance that you feel in these mannequins now is so realistic, it's just like a real, the chest of a real baby or a real adult. Yeah. So getting that hands-on is going to take away a lot of that, like, question in your mind and all that kind of doubt, because you're going to know exactly how it feels. I mean, even just on this baby CPR, I think just knowing that resistance, that feeling of when you've pushed far enough, is going to give you that confidence to know how hard to push and how fast to push.
And you're pushing down on their chest, because it certainly does feel like if I were going to push on a baby's chest, I'd be worried I was going to break something in there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, babies less than a year of age, I mean, most of their bones are half cartilage anyway. There's a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah.
And when you're pushing down on the breastbone. I mean, that's a big, wide bone that's there to protect the heart.
Yeah.
So you're just basically pushing on that to get the blood out of the heart and into circulation. And one of the biggest mistakes I see with parents is sometimes they're afraid to push hard enough because they're thinking, I don't want to hurt the kid.
Yeah.
The truth is that it's much better to push all the way down with full recoil each time than to just push shallow. The way I kind of explain it to my students is if you imagine like the heart is like a container filled with blood. You want to push all the way down and let it fully recoil. All the way down, let it fully recoil. That's going to get all that blood out and into circulation versus just pushing a little bit, that's barely going to push any blood into circulation, not going to make much of a difference. So when in doubt, when you're not sure what to do, push hard, push fast.
It's already really helpful to me to think about it in the context of why we're doing the pushing. And maybe I never even but you're doing the work of the heart. You're pumping the blood through the body.
You're essentially buying time. You're stabilizing the patient by keeping the blood going to those organs. The heart's not doing it, or it's not doing it fast enough, so you're taking over. And that's going to keep oxygen delivered to the brain, to the heart. It's going to keep them alive and keep them kind of stable until they wake up or someone with more advanced training can take over.
So who do you see taking your classes for infant CPR?
I think it's good for everyone to know CPR. Some of the schools, high schools in San Diego, actually require it of their students to graduate. It's pretty nice. But I would say that anybody that has anything to do with children, like, anybody that takes care of kids. So we're talking about new parents, new grandparents, babies, babies. Not babies, can wait a little while, but babysitters, yeah. So babysitters, just anyone that's around kids. We have special programs for certification for daycares, but then we also have like workshops that are just focused on what parents need to know. So I would just recommend anyone that's interested, just find a reputable organization, make sure it's in line with like a national training regiment like the Red Cross or the American Heart Association. But, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and a lot of mom-centric businesses that focus almost entirely on selling items for kids and for babies.
Okay.
A lot of those places will actually have classes set up. So just ask the manager. You'd be surprised what you find.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We've learned a lot about why and how to do infant CPR, but I want to talk about some specific scenarios in the second segment. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Parent Savers. Today we're talking about infant CPR with Nathan Cohen from CPR Advantage. So to talk about some specific scenarios where CPR might be useful or to help parents know what to do, what do you do if your baby's choking on something? Like you hear a lot about maybe babies trying to eat a grape after they're 1 and they're starting to eat or something and they're choking on it. What can parents do to help with that?
Sure. Well, first of all, recognize the signs of choking. Not just to kind of tease the kids for a second. Babies, infants are not very great communicators. They're not going to hold their hands to their throat. They're not going to wave their arms in the air. So you got to kind of look for what the signs of choking are. Now, oftentimes in an infant, what we're going to see is that their eyes are going to get really big and kind of bug out, and they're just going to track you everywhere you go in the room. And it might not even be your child. You could be out for lunch with a friend. She's at the salad bar, and the baby's staring at you. But if you notice that they're kind of watching you and they're just tracking you, like the haunted mansion in Disneyland, where they're just following you around, that's kind of a sign. That's their way of saying, hey, I need something. I need help. Come over here. So even if it's not your kid, get a little closer, take a look. Now, if you get closer, and in addition to the big kind of eyes watching you, you notice that their lips get kind of pale or bluish pale, that's a definite sign of choking. And that blue lip sign, that can come on as little as 20 or 30 seconds after getting something stuck in their throat. They can't breathe, and their lips will go from rosy to pale to blue. So if you see that, you need to act. And even for the parents of children who've got a darker skin complexion, even for them, you might not see the blue in the lips, but you'll see the paleness. And what we do in the fire service, at least, is we'll kind of pull down the eyelid, and we normally see a lot of blood vessels in there.
Yeah.
If that area is also kind of pale, that's another tip off that they're not getting any oxygen to the face, that they're choking. So if you see big eyes, pale lips, definite sign you need to act.
So in that case, is chest compressions what we're looking to do, or something
no?
else?
That's when you're going to learn a special technique. You hold the baby over your forearm. You rest your forearm on top of your leg,
right,
and you do slaps at the top of the back with the heel of your hand. So you use the bottom part of your hand right between the shoulder blades, and you hit 5 times reasonably
with
firm.
the heel.
Yeah, down. You're going to hit 5 times. You don't want to be too light. You don't want to be too heavy. You're not looking for Godzilla strength here. You just want to kind of hit firmly with the visualization that each of these hits, this is going to get that object free. This is going to get that object free. And then after you do 5 on the back, you're going to flip them over to the front side.
Yeah.
And now on the chest, in the same place you do CPR, you're going to do 5 separate distinct thrusts. And they don't have to be harder. All you're looking for is to create that quick motion. That quick motion is going to create that puff of air that's going to hit that object and knock it out.
Got it.
And if you actually visualize as you're doing these, like, this is going to get the red Lego out, it can actually help, right?
All right. What about if a baby's unconscious after a big blow to the head, like maybe they accidentally got dropped or they rolled off their bed or something? I feel like that happens at least once to every family that their baby's
Only
gonna roll
once?
off.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right?
Embarrassing confession part 2.
That's right. That's a topic right there. Embarrassing and real confessions of parents. But yeah, like, so they fall off the bed and they landed kind of on their head, and you're like, oh my gosh, is he okay? Like, what's going on?
Sure. I mean, that's, in all fairness, that's probably more of a first aid type question.
Okay.
But I think that, look for a change in behavior. Look for a change in the way they're acting. Is there a change in muscle tone? Are they really lethargic and kind of listless? And if there's any of those changes, even if you're not sure if you're seeing those changes, when in doubt, just call 911 or get them evaluated by a healthcare professional.
But if you didn't see him fall off the bed and you come in and he or she is unconscious, then that's what you talked about before. That's maybe a CPR situation because you just want to keep the blood flowing, right?
Well, I mean, with a head injury, you're more worried about, I mean, there's
but you may not know it's a head injury at that point.
I mean, some of the simple signs of a head injury, they might vomit. There's just it's a little complex.
Right.
Yeah,
but if you do know it's a head injury, then CPR maybe isn't what you should be doing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the CPR is the indication for CPR is they're not breathing, they're not moving. Okay. So with a head injury, they might be injured, but they're not necessarily not moving and not breathing.
So pulling a baby from a pool.
Pulling a baby from a pool. Wow. So you're still going to do CPR, and honestly, a big part of like keeping kids safe is prevention. So there's a ton of great resources out there. There's a program called Infant Swimming Resource, which teaches kids as young as 6 months how to that if they fall in the pool, how to kind of hold their breath, float up to the, roll over, float to the surface, and then just kind of lay there floating thanks to the baby fat, just kind of floating in the pool, crying till someone sees them and scoops them out. Now, with regards to what we do for CPR, there is a little bit of variety because I teach Red Cross and American Heart, and they have two different points of view on it. And I think in this specific case, I think Red Cross has a little bit more exact because they recommend starting the CPR for the baby with the 2 breaths. Normally, all CPR starts with the compressions. The one exception is with poisoning or with drowning because that oxygen is super important. And the mechanism that actually helps that drowned baby or that drowned child is pretty interesting. What it is as you give those breaths, you're actually pushing that air into the lungs, which is physically displacing about 2/3 of that water out of the body. So you're not going to see the Tom and Jerry, fountain coming out of the mouth, but you will see the water slowly seep. And then once you get that initial water out, you're just going to continue CPR. And the interesting part is that as you blow that air in, you're going to actually be pushing that remaining water into the tissues. And most people don't think of the lungs as a place that can take that water should be, but the body can actually absorb a small amount of it. So you're either going to continue CPR, which is going to get the rest of the water out, or you're going to wait for the lifeguard. And when the lifeguard gets there, he has a positive pressurized mask for oxygen, puts her right over the face, and as he hits the button, it's actually going to force that air into the lungs and push that fluid into the tissues. CPR is a combination of compressions and breaths. It's very, very important for kids that you include the breathing too. You don't want to just err on the side of just doing the compressions. I mean, the way I look at hands-only CPR, because there is a lot of hype out there about hands-only right now, that's if you are overwhelmed. Let's say you have a situation, CPR, you're at the playground, there's a car crash in the parking lot. If there's more than one victim, if there's 3 people that need CPR and you're the only one that knows how to do it, you can show a bystander, a good Samaritan that wants to help. Hey, come over to this person, push on their chest just like this. And then go over to the second person. Hey, push on this person's chest just like this. Then you go over to the third person, do compressions, breathing, use of an AED. That's going to help even more. But at least everybody's getting some help until the paramedics show up.
What mistake do you see people make with infant CPR?
Sure. I think the biggest mistake, honestly, is that people don't push down hard enough because they're in the back of their minds, they're thinking, I don't want to hurt my baby. I don't want to hurt my child. I don't want to push down too hard. It's better to push hard and fast and all the way down because that's really going to create that good blood flow, like as we talked about earlier. So when in doubt, just go ahead and push on their chest. And the interesting thing, too, is we sometimes joke with our students that if you're doing CPR on an older child and you can't tell if they're awake, if they're breathing or not, if you're not sure, send someone to call 911. You start doing CPR, starting with those compressions. Because as you're pushing down, if that child suddenly wakes up, like, what are you doing? Why are you pushing on my chest? Oh, sorry, kid. Where's your mom? Where's the teacher? And worst case scenario, if you push on someone's chest when they don't need it, they get a big bruise on their chest. And a great story out of it, like, oh, John thought I was dying, starts pushing on my chest, But it's always better than the alternative.
Oh, yeah.
So when in doubt, just call 911, start CPR. You're not going to hurt them. You'll just give them a good story.
Did you ever take an infant CPR class, Stacy?
No.
Yeah,
I'll show you at the next break.
But we did baby-led weaning when my son turned 6 months old, and we had all the signs. He was sitting up and all this stuff, and so I was really paranoid. And I read a statistic on the internet, so it must be true.
Yes.
But it said that only 6% of parents experience a choking incident with baby-led weaning. I'm not sure what the age range was. I'm sure adults still choke. I mean, it's not like it's foolproof, but but I like obsessively like made sure I like reread the directions on what to do for choking and stuff like that.
Well, it's a big deal for babies because up until that first year of age, they don't really have well-defined taste buds. So nothing really tastes sour or bitter, but all the texture sensation is right there. So when they find when they see like a bug hopping by or a cricket or something, to them it's not like a dirty, icky bud. To them it's kind of squishy and chewy and crispy and flaky and all those interesting sensations. So a lot of times they kind of explore the world by putting things in their mouth. And so having the simple, skill set of knowing how to get that choking object back out is a huge plus.
My little guy that's almost 2, he has this, we call it the chipmunk. He's got this thing that he's doing now where he'll eat his food and then stuff it in his cheeks and he won't swallow it for a while. And it's freaking me out because, I'm cutting his food super tiny to ensure that he doesn't choke. And then he just walks around, it's like it has to disintegrate first. And then he'll like eat it. It's like totally freaking me out. And I'm like, I really need to review that CPR stuff because, something's going to get caught.
I call it the chipmunk stage too. I have parents tell me, oh, my toddler loves meatballs. And so they'll cut it into 8 little pieces and then they'll turn away, look back, and all of a sudden all 8 pieces are gone.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just good kind of learning, just teaching them how to eat, portion control, just give them a little bit, watch them, a little bit, watch them. Right. It's more, more consuming of the parent's time, but that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So for people looking to take classes, and I mean, you may not be able to completely answer this, but, that maybe don't live in San Diego, like what are some ways that people can find infant CPR classes?
Sure. Well, if they're in San Diego, please come to one of our classes.
CPR Advantage, right?
Yeah. But also the Red Cross, the American Heart Association offer great programs for child daycare certification, but parents can also enroll into the same courses. But there's also sometimes you'll find, again, with those kind of mom-centric and local parenting hotspots, you'll find that oftentimes they offer classes, and they're usually specialized to just the bare basics of what a parent wants to know. So just check out those businesses, ask the managers or the baby registry desks, etc., and just kind of, see what they offer.
I know for us, ours was done through our healthcare provider, and it was a free class.
Nice.
So I mean that's one thing that I would say too is just check with your healthcare provider and see if they offer.
And as you're taking all those classes leading up to it.
But the big thing for me too, because a lot of people kind of do these online programs. I apologize, but that's really not a good way to go. You need to get
sense.
because you need to get the hands on. You need to have that muscle memory because that's what's going to give you the confidence in a real emergency to act without thinking. You don't want to have that kind of hesitation. You want to be able to just jump in, do the right thing, help the kid out.
Great. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Nathan. For more information about infant CPR, more information about any of our panelists, visit the episode page on our website. We'll continue the conversation for members of our Parent Savers Club after the show. We'll talk about moving beyond infant CPR. And so please stick around for that if you're a member of the Parent Savers Club. And if you want to hear that and you're not, then please join. For more information about how to join, you can visit our website, parentsavers.com.
Hello, Parent Savers. I'm Dr. Jennifer Shear, a clinical psychologist with a practice in San Diego. One of my specialties is working with women during pregnancy and throughout the transition to motherhood. Today's segment is about common adjustments that couples go through with a new baby. When baby is born, it is never again just you and me. The dyad expands to a triad. There is often a sense of loss, even as there is simultaneous excitement about growing your family. It is helpful to remember that mothers and fathers often experience this transition differently and at different times. Make the transition conscious by talking about it. When baby is born, there is a healthy and yet temporary preoccupation on caregiving baby. It is perfectly normal for new moms and dads to be focused on strengthening and defining these roles for themselves, and they are often different. Some men are natural caretakers and want to be very involved in the process. Other men may become very focused on their role as a financial provider. Try to think about where your partner gains esteem for this new role as mother or father, and try to understand that if the focus or attention on each other is not what you're used to, things are still fine. Rather than experiencing these changes as rejection or an indicator that something is wrong, it shows the enormous energy you are both putting into defining brand new parts of yourself, and you're doing it under minimal sleep. And speaking of minimal sleep, sexual intimacy and sleep deprivation are not a very good mix. So try to be gentle with yourselves and trust that you will find a natural rhythm with one another after the hard work of learning your baby's rhythms are firmly established. Thanks for tuning in to Parent Savers. It is my hope that having a greater understanding of common couple adjustments will help to normalize some of the changes that come with the new baby. And keep listening for more episodes on how to thrive as a new parent.
That wraps up today's show. Thanks so much for listening to Parent Savers. Don't forget to check out our sister shows, Preggy Pals for expecting parents, The Boob Group for moms who breastfeed, and Twin Talks for parents of multiples. Next week, we'll be talking about another exciting topic for new and new again parents. This is Parent Savers, empowering new parents. It's magic. It's awesome. It's free. What
It's awesome. It's free. It's awesome.
This has been a New Mommy Media production. The information and material contained in this episode are presented for educational purposes only. Statements and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of New Mommy Media and should not be considered facts. While such information and materials are believed to be accurate, it is not intended to replace or substitute for professional medical advice or care, and should not be used for diagnosing or treating healthcare problem or disease or prescribing any medication. If you have questions or concerns regarding your physical or mental health or the health of your baby, please seek assistance from a qualified healthcare provider.
New Mommy Media is expanding our lineup of shows for new and expecting parents. If you have an idea for a new series, or if you're a business or organization interested in joining our network of shows through a co-branded podcast, visit newmommymedia.com. Hey mamas, don't forget to check out Mighty Moms. It's our online community built for new moms just like you. Not only can you connect with other moms, but you can also join us backstage for special mom-only online events. And you'll also be notified when we're recording so you can join us as a special guest. Visit our website, newmommymedia.com, and click on the Mighty Moms banner. It's free. That's newmommymedia.com. See you there.